Bom dia. Good morning. I will start with a brief presentation before passing to the panelists on what is Alentejo actually doing in terms of sustainability. This program started in 2014, and basically we're doing what pretty much many countries in the new world of wine are doing, and some countries in Europe too are doing, which is set up a scheme that will help the producers to improve their profiles in terms of economics, environmental, and social aspects. As you can see, programs in Chile, Australia, California, South Africa, New Zealand, Portugal, in this case Alentejo, and other regions also in Europe, such for example as Italy, have programs of this sort. They're all similar programs, they're all mandatory, continuous improvement programs, they're all voluntary participation, and they're all phased, and above all, what they do is they assist in the credibility of the industry by adopting similar practices to all. In this photo, you can see an example of, because this started a bit as it shouldn't have. This is an example of a best practice in terms of social awareness with the labor work, so people can actually afford to go to a bathroom without having to interrupt their activity and without having to do, what they need to do in the open field. They can have all the needs and the requirements to be able to do it in private. In this case, we have an example of awareness on energy efficiency, on water awareness. So it's a message on people to save water in the activities of the cellar. And the scope of this project is from the life cycle analysis from the beginning, from grape production all the way to social economics, regional development, community engagement, passing by stuff like water management, waste management, pests, sustainability, management of ecosystems, and so on and so forth. So the idea is to look at the life cycle analysis, inputs and outputs, and assist in gaining efficiency and reducing costs. An example of circular economy, composting, so using all the organic waste from the activities of the cellar and composting it, making it into a fertilizer that then can be used in the fields, reducing the use of inorganic fertilizers, so used by, with the origins in carbon, in fossil fuels. This project started in 2015, and by 2019 we started with 94 members. Now we have 326, so it's a good number. The producers in Alentejo are adhering. It's voluntary, so we don't force anybody, and it's free of charge, so nobody pays to be in the project. So the reality is the numbers have been growing, so we're quite happy with the adherence, and we hope that in the future more and more producers will join us. This is an example of reduction of the use of herbicides. So you just put the sheep in the field. They will eat, obviously this will be done during the vegetative rest, so in order to prevent the sheep from actually eating the grapes. So they will just eat the little weeds, and also will do some mobilization of soil. They will do some poos that will help with fertilization. And obviously, again, we reduce the costs, reduce the energy inputs, reduce the fossil fuel contribution, and also generates nice pictures. Those numbers of members in our program represent approximately 46% of the planted area of Alentejo. So it means that we are indeed having a very good adherence in terms of, quantifiably speaking, the numbers we have in our program are quite good because they represent a large area of Alentejo. Bear in mind, Alentejo has around 2,800 vintners and 280 cellars, and we have 320-something members between vintners and cellars. This number represents also approximately 60% of the volume of wine that Alentejo produces every year. We also promote best practices in terms of green purchasing. So we are promoting FSC products, not only the corks, but also obviously the labels, the barrels, and so on and so forth. And instead of just promoting, we decided that we should be the ones to also walk the talk. So all the corks that the Regional Commission of Alentejo uses are now FSC certified. We started in 2015, so this was our regional analysis with the producers we have inputting information. Then 2016, things started to shake. 17 shaked again. 18 continued shaking. And you can see that ultimately the cloud shrinks and expands depending obviously on the number of producers that come in, the different levels in which they are in terms of awareness and implementation of sustainability practices, and also, and not only, the fact that it's a continuous improvement system, so they will start in one, they could start in the blue and then expand to the yellow, for instance. So what this gives is one wide regional perspective of how an entire sector is performing in terms of sustainability aspects. An example of software, so it's energy software to control on time, in real time, everything that's happening in a cellar. So it's also another kind of promotion of best practices we do. In 3 years, what have we achieved? So we went from 30 to 43% of producers that implemented water management plans. Maintenance of irrigation systems doubled, pretty much. Monitoring of water consumption more than tripled, almost. Net boxes for purchase of birds of prey. We had 5% of people using bats, for instance, to fight plagues. Now we have 20% almost, so it actually quadrupled almost. Another example of energy, renewable energy in the vineyard for pumping of water. 25% more, so 5 times more monitoring and recording of energy use also. Of total water use, almost quadrupled also. We have a group dedicated to sustainable practices and 3 times more sellers than we used to have when the project started. An example of cover cropping, quite lush and wild, but obviously this promotes a lot of biodiversity, water retention, soil erosion combat, so also a good practice we promote. In terms of soil management, we, as I mentioned previously, we promote the use of sheep in the soil for weed control. We promote composting. Obviously, these kind of techniques then assist in erosion prevention. And we also promote the periodical analysis of soil, leaves, and waters. Another example of FSC in this case in terms of the packaging, in the 30 area packaging. In terms of biodiversity, the reduced use of chemicals in the vineyard, ecological infrastructures such as cover crops, and bed boxes to assist in the fight against plagues. Another example, social awareness, so a place for the people in the field to be able to go and protect themselves and to rest a little bit if it's too hot or if it's raining, so they can have times to rest a bit. In terms of water and energy, we promote energy audits, we promote the installation of pipes and tanks, conversion of all lighting to LED, photovoltaic production, as you also saw an example of the little panel for pumping of water in the vineyard. In terms of water management, flow meters for irrigation and use of dry cleaning equipment, so reduce the water needs. And reuse of water also, natural wetland treatments and wastewater treatment plant area water that is then reused for landscaping irrigation. A pole for attraction of prey birds, so the bird just stops there and plagues of pests of birds may not appear because they get deterred by the fact that a prey bird is running around. In terms of social and communities, we promote continuous training in the workplace. We raise social responsibility in the region. We try to contribute for qualified human resources, contribution for local economy. And in terms of community, we try to have a stakeholder engagement, increase local and regional participation, and contribute to the value of the Alentejo region and the Alentejo brand. So in a nutshell, this is what Alentejo is doing. Thank you very much.